Okay, hi everyone. I hope you all can hear me. So, all right. I'm just waiting for confirmation that I am on. So, okay, we're just going to get started then. Okay, welcome everyone to our Parenting Lunch Break webinar. So, our topic for today is the 10 Commandments of Parenting. I'm Adina Soclof. So if this is the first time you're coming to join us, I think that's important to know. For those of you who have come already, you know who I am. So when we were putting together this topic, the 10 Commandments of Parenting, I thought it was going to be so simple. Oh, it's going to be like such a great topic, and it's going to be easy to do. Like like off the top of my head, I could come up with the 10 Commandments of Parenting. But I was having so much trouble to just coming up with just like 10 basic principles of parenting, or 10 tenets of parenting. And in that, I realized how brilliant the Aseret HaDibrot are, the 10 Commandments are, to pick 10 of like your top 10 things that are important in life. So when I'm having trouble putting together my classes, I just give it over to my family. Usually at dinner, I tell them I'm having trouble, and because I love what my kids have to say. I love what my husband has to say. So, so this class is really a reflection of, or really a synopsis of of our dinner table discussion. And also, so part of the dinner table discussion was my kids and my husband said that you really have to align the 10 Commandments of Parenting with the actual Aseret HaDibrot, with with the actual 10 commandments that we have, which I thought was a great idea. So we're going to try to align the 10 commandments of parenting, the 10 basic principles of parenting, along with the Aseret HaDibrot. And I think that would be a great celebration of Shavuot, a great way to celebrate the upcoming holiday of Shavuot, even though we have Lag BaOmer next week in the middle of that. But I just thought that that would be a great idea. Another thing that my son said was, how long do you usually speak for, Ma? And I said, I think like I'm supposed to speak for about 30 minutes. He's like, well, that gives you only 3 minutes a dibra. I'm like, ooh. So on that note, I am going to get started now. So our first dibra. So, you also should have you should be able to download a sheet that a handout. So it should be in the corner there. You know what? And I also, before I get started, I just want to thank Hannah Farkas from the OU, and I want to wish her a mazel tov on her new baby. And I want to thank Alex Cook and Adina Schwartzbaum for, Alex for the technical stuff, and Adina for putting this together. And of course, a shout out to Devorah Katz from chalacrumbs.com. So she's going to be speaking after me, so you're going to have to click on when I'm done speaking, you're going to have to click on a button to some sort of link. It's on the page there, and then you'll be able to hear her side, her crafts and activities. And I hear she's talking about cheesecake. What could be bad about that? So that's going to be after I speak. And again, you'll have to click on the link when I'm done, and I'll try to remind you to do that after I'm finished talking. Okay, fine. So you should have a handout because we're going to be working from that. Okay, so number one, our first dibra is Anochi Hashem Elokecha. I am your God who has brought you out of the lands of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Okay, so but we're going to focus Anochi Hashem Elokecha. So just like we need to answer to a higher authority, we meaning adults, I guess. So so do our kids, and really it gives us this very a feeling of comfort that God is always there. He always loves us. He's always looking out for our best interests. It just gives a structure to our lives. And so also that he loves us unconditionally. Like it doesn't matter what we do. We can always do tshuva. We can always return. He will always love us. We are his children. So the same thing with kids. They need us to love them unconditionally. They need us to be their rock. They need us to always be there for them, there to support them. It's so important to have that family structure behind you if you're going to be successful in life, if you're going to be an emotionally healthy person. So I think that's really the basis of everything. Okay, and again, to know this, really to know that God is there, and the same thing for our kids to know that we're there really gives shape to our lives. And I think also in Judaism we have so much ritual and so many traditions, and it's like we have a schedule to our lives. We have a predictability to our lives, okay? We know that Pesach is coming, and after Pesach comes Shavuot, and after that comes Tisha B'Av, and after, there's a beauty and there's a structure to that, and we also have to give that over to our kids. They need structure, they need routines, they need predictability. Okay, so that's our first Dibra. All right, that structure, that unconditional love, and that we're our kids' rock, that we're a support system, the same way that God is our support system. He's always there for us. Okay, number 2, Lo yeh lecha elokim acharim. Sorry about that. Okay, so Lo yeh lecha elokim acharim. You should have no other gods besides me. Fine. So just like there's no other gods for us, we need to know that we are the right person for our children. There's nobody else who could parent our children the way we do, okay? There's nobody who could take care of your child the way you can. You and your child were meant to be together. So I love what Miriam Adina says. It's on the second page of your handout here, okay? So she says in her book, Raising Children to Care, she says, Hashem has given us these particular children with their particular weaknesses and strengths. Each one is given to us not only for us to help him with his tikkun, spiritual repair work, but for him to help us with ours as well. Each child challenges us in his own special way. And it is in loving them when we feel least loving or that they are least lovable that we make the greatest spiritual progress. I'm sorry. So I feel like this gives us such a fresh perspective on parenting. Like, we all have our bad days. We all have that kid who's just giving us such a tough time. And maybe in the back of our heads we're thinking, like, why me? Why do I have this child? Like, why am I having this trouble? And just to know that, like, when that tough kid is getting us down, that really this idea can give us some encouragement, okay? Because this idea that we're really meant for each other, that this is really, like, God wants us to have this child and wants us to have these challenges because it's going to make us into a better person, I think it can be really helpful when we are going through some troubled times with our kids. I think also Wendy Mogul, it's also on our handout, just 3 lines down. She says, Judaism teaches us that working on developing midot, good character traits, is a lifelong process. Okay, we're going to skip. Raising children will help you build midot because changing their bad behavior will probably require you to change yourself. Some of the least glamorous yet most valuable character traits, such as patience, tenacity, foresight, courage, self-control, and acceptance, are won in the trenches of parenthood. As you teach your children how to control and direct their Yetzer Hara, you will discover strengths you never knew you had. Okay, so really it's about building ourselves. We can be better people because of the challenges that we have in parenting. So I think this gives us, again, this new perspective, this fresh perspective, an encouraging perspective on parenting, that it's really that any of our challenges are meant to really build us into better people, that we're connected. There's no other, that our children and that we and our children are connected. We're meant to be, we're bashert, we're meant to be together, and there's really no one else that could parent this child the way you can. You really are meant for each other. Okay, so that is number 2. All right, moving right along here. All right, so number 3, lo tisa et shem Elokecha lashav. You shall not take the name of your God in vain. Okay, so this is a little similar. This is a little similar idea to number 2. So basically, I feel like it's don't abuse your privileges as a parent. Don't forget to appreciate your child. Like, don't think God gave you this child in vain. Okay, be grateful for this child. Okay, like, don't forget your child is a gift. So I think there is a great, like, sort of poem that a woman who had a special needs child wrote. I do a lot of quoting in my classes. So that's like C on your handout. And she talks about how it is to have a special needs child, okay? And I think this could be used for everyone, okay? Every parent, even if you don't have a special needs child. Okay, so she says, I am often asked to describe the experience of raising a child with a disability. Try to help people who have not shared that unique experience to understand it, imagine it, and how it would feel. It's like this. When you're going to have a baby, it's like planning a fabulous vacation trip to Italy. You buy a bunch of guidebooks and make your wonderful plans. The Colosseum, the Sistine Chapel, gondolas. You may learn some handy phrases in Italian. It's all very exciting. After several months of eager anticipation, the day finally arrives. Okay, you pack your bags and you go off. Several hours later, the plane lands. The stewardesses come in and say, welcome to Holland. Holland, you say? What do you mean Holland? I signed up for Italy. I'm supposed to be in Italy. All my life I've dreamed of going to Italy, but there's been a change in the flight plan. They've landed in Holland and there you must stay. The important thing is that they haven't taken you to a horrible, disgusting, filthy place full of pestilence, famine, and disease. It's just a different place. So you must go out and buy new guidebooks, and you must learn a whole new language, and you will meet a whole new group of people you would never have met. It's just a different place. It's slower paced than Italy, less flashy than Italy, but after you've been there for a while and you catch your breath, you look around. You begin to notice that Holland has windmills, Holland has tulips. I love tulips. And Holland even has Rembrandts. But everyone you know is busy coming and going from Italy, and they're all bragging about what a wonderful time they had there. And for the rest of your life, you will say, yes, that's where I was supposed to go. That's what I had planned. And the pain of that experience will never, ever go away. The loss of the dream is a very significant loss. But if you spend your life mourning the fact that you didn't get to Italy, you may never be free to enjoy the very special, the very lovely things about Holland. I thought that was a great analogy for parents who have special needs children, but I think also all parents, we all have dreams about what our children are going to be like, and they might not live up to that dream, okay? So you might, like, just on a simple level, you might have a child who's more artsy and you're more academic. You might be artsy and your child is more academic or more concrete. Right? So we have to learn to appreciate each child and the strengths in each child. And it could be really hard sometimes. And the ideas of what we have about parenting sometimes have to change. Sometimes we have to go to Holland instead of Italy. But Holland is beautiful. Every child is beautiful. Every child has their strengths and talents. And I think that we need to remember that. Okay. So that is, you shall not take the name of your God in vain. Okay. After saying that, it sounds like a little far-fetched, but whatever. I think we're on the right track here. Okay. Number 4, Zachor et Yom HaShabbat. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. So I think this is like a no-brainer, okay? I love Shabbat. I think it is amazing. It is the most brilliant idea. I think in modern times we even value it more. I know for myself, I work from home. So I always say, I have an amazing job. I love what I do. It's great that the hours are so flexible, and it's horrible that the hours are so flexible. Also, I love what I do. I could always work. I could always throw in a couple of hours here and there. Not on Shabbos. On Shabbos, I have to turn everything off. So, and we all know, like, we have to turn off our phone, we have to turn off our computer, and it really forces you to connect instead of virtually, but actually face to face with your family. And it's just a beautiful time. And you know, we have special food and we have special desserts, and just with a little bit of, I feel like Shabbos has its own magic. Like, yes, we work hard for Shabbos and we cook, but I think even if we didn't do that, even if we made like very simple foods, like something like just a little bit special, Shabbos magic would just take over and would like transform everything to something even more beautiful, and kids feel it. Okay, I'm like, I light Shabbos candles and I say out loud, I love Shabbos. I'm so happy it's Shabbos. So, and I hear my kids saying that also. So I think that I think Shabbos really helps us build strong families. It really is like the glue that keeps our families together. Okay, so like no brainer there, right? Okay. Number 5, kabed et avicha v'et imecha, honor your father and mother. Okay, so we mentioned before that we need to answer to a higher authority. Our kids have to answer to a higher authority. We spoke about this, I think, last time. It's really important that you are the authority figure in your kids' lives, that you make rules and you stick to them. But I think because we spoke about this so much last time, I want to add, which I'm sure we've spoken about it a few times, this point also, but I think it's so important, that we need to be people that our children could respect. We need to be role models for our kids. And so often parents will ask me, like, how do I make sure my kid's a mensch? You have to look at yourself. Are you acting in a mensch-like way? Okay, like, how do I make sure that my kids are responsible, that they're caring? How do you act? Are you responsible? You know, do you act responsibly? Do you act in caring ways? Like, you know, how do I make sure that my kids are committed to Judaism? Are you committed to Judaism? Are you an authentic Jew? Do you love Judaism? Okay, do you study? Do you learn? Let them see that, okay? And so I think that being a role model for our kids, being someone that they can respect, is really important. It's up there with my 10 principles of parenting. Okay, so we also, I'm not going to get into the whole technical, most people who have had a Jewish day school education know the Rashi about why kabed et avicha v'et imecha is grouped in with the first 5 and not the second 5, but basically, because of our time constraints, I'm just going to say that we also need to remember that there's a concept that we are partners with God in raising children, okay? So don't forget that God is there. When you are having trouble with your kids, that's a perfect time to pray for your kids. Pray for their health, pray for their welfare, pray for anything that you need. Turn to God. He's one of your partners, not just your spouse. You know, like my husband and I were having an issue with our kid, like we'll sit down, we'll talk about it. Don't forget to bring God into that conversation. Like turn to him. Turn to him in prayer. And I also, when I was putting this together, I just remembered, I don't know if it exactly fits into this, but I was once talking to a woman who really, she had some issues with her faith, like with Emunah before she had kids. And then when she had kids, she said, you know, I realized that I realized how much I love my baby. Like, I can't believe I've never loved anybody the way I love my baby, she said. And then I realized, like, if God loves me the same way that I love my baby, like, wow, like, oh my gosh, it just gives me like a whole new perspective on my relationship with God. So I really think that parenting can really change your perspective and really can teach you to appreciate and value and help you develop a better relationship with God and create those connections with God. Okay, So that is kabed et avicha v'et imecha. All right, we're moving right along here. That was 5. Number 6, lo tirtzach. So my son was like, that's easy. Just don't kill your kids. That's whatever. You don't have to say anything more. But of course, it's my class, so I get to say a little bit more. So I want to say, don't kill your children with words. Don't kill your children with looks, like rolling your eyes, like, I can't believe you just said that. Okay, like refrain from name calling, like lazy, irresponsible, immature, spoiled, bratty, whatever it is. Let's try to refrain from name calling. We all know the phrase, sticks and stones may break our bones, but words can never harm me. So my co-teacher, Courtney Evanchik, she teaches social skills in one of the Jewish schools here, and she says that is not true. She says that really words can do more damage than physical abuse, which I thought was interesting. Okay, and just a plug here for car seats. Keep your children safe, like lo tirtzach. Like remember, follow the rules of your city, the safety rules. So put your kids in car seats. Okay, sorry, it's a pet peeve of mine. Okay, next, lo tin'af. You shall not commit adultery. You want to keep your marriage strong and vibrant, okay? Again, a no-brainer. Your child is going to learn about their relationships from watching your interactions that you have with your spouse. So I hear it so much. I read so many articles about, good parenting, and many times they say, keep your marriage strong. That is like the best gift that you can give your child, for them to see and witness a strong marriage. Now, if you are divorced or it's, there are still ways that you can show respect for your spouse, even though I know it is very difficult. Okay. The next one, number 8, lo tigno. You should not steal. Okay. So I'd like to say that I think there's so many things that you could say for not stealing, but this is what I chose. Don't rob your children of their dignity, and also don't rob them of their intrinsic goodness. So I hear this so much from parents, like, my kids are so selfish, they're so bad. They're really not. They're really acting in developmentally appropriate ways. So for example, when your toddler goes into your bedroom and takes everything out of the drawers, okay? So they're not being bad. They have a need to explore, or they write all over the walls. They're not being bad. They have a need to explore. They don't even know that, like, crayons on the, what's the difference between walls and paper, okay? So again, they have a need to explore, and they have a need to see how they affect the world around them. It's totally normal. And then we tag on this sort of this negative label to their behavior, and it's just not true. And it's the same thing for kids. So the example I have here, like a kid will come to you, you'll have bought vanilla ice cream as a treat, and your child will say to you, why did you buy vanilla? I only like chocolate, right? So they're being ungrateful, they're being spoiled, they're being bratty, right? That's what it looks like to us, but really, what is it? If you dig a little deep, it's just that they're disappointed and they don't know how to express their disappointment, and they haven't learned to be grateful yet, to look for the good in the situation, okay? How many adults do we know that also do that? But, okay, so, and they are being selfish because that's what being a kid is. Kids are egocentric. As they grow up, and hopefully, if we parent them well, they'll move out of that egocentrism. Okay, and they'll move out of that and learn to be more caring, learn to be more empathetic, but when it's totally developmentally appropriate for them to be selfish, to really only think of themselves. They can't take another person's viewpoints into consideration. The same thing with teenagers, okay? They come home late from curfew. I mean, there's many reasons why they might be coming home from late from curfew, or they can't wake up in the morning, but we all know that they have issues with their, I forgot to ask somebody how to pronounce this, circadian rhythms. I'm sure, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but so right? Like their bodies are sort of off. So they're really learning how to manage all of that and manage their time effectively, and they're really flexing their independence muscles. So a lot of their behavior, the chutzpahdik behavior, is normal. Okay, so this does not mean that you should just accept it and let them sleep all day or anything like that, but just knowing that there's a reason behind it, that it's not because they're bad, is really very helpful. Okay, it helps you discipline more effectively. You'll be disciplining from a calmer place and not an angry place. Okay, so that's number 8, lo tigno, don't rob them of their intrinsic goodness. All right, number 9, you shall not bear false witness against your fellow, lo ta'ana be'ere'echa eid sheker. Okay, so for this, I feel you should really try to be an advocate for your child. Okay, so this is similar to what we just said before. So your child's not generally, if they're misbehaving, let's say they're misbehaving in school, it's not because they're bad. So actually I had my co-teacher who, she's also a parent educator, right? So her kid was having trouble in school, and they were telling her that her child was lazy and that her child was a behavior problem. And she was like, oh my gosh, my child is lazy, it's a behavior problem. And then she went to go speak to her doctor, and he said to her, just go get an educator, just get her tested. Something's going on. A child wants to behave. If they're not behaving in school, it's because they can't behave. And she's like, I knew that. And I had to have my doctor tell it to me. She's like, I knew that. I teach that. And you sort of lose your objectivity when it comes to your own child. But if your child is acting out or is having some behavior issues, dig a little bit deeper and then be an advocate for them. Don't take their behavior at face value. This doesn't mean that you should go tell the teacher, well, she's not really lazy and she's not a behavior problem. No, you have to take care of that. You have to discipline your child. You have to find out, you have to arrange for the educational testing or whatever it is. But it's an attitude that we need to have about our children, okay? Being an advocate for them, digging a little bit deeper, looking at the cause for their behavior. Okay. Okay, number 10. Ooh, we're like almost, okay, I'm just gonna go a little bit over. Okay, so number 10, lo tachmod, do not covet, do not be jealous, anything that is your fellows. Okay, so number 1, I think we need to not compare ourselves to other parents. So let's say you have your next door neighbor whose kids are always like impeccably dressed and her house is spotless and she's always put together. Like, don't compare yourself to her. Number 1, you never know what goes on in somebody else's house. And number 2, it is so demoralizing, and it's so what's the word I'm looking for? It just takes away any time, like it's just so disabling to compare yourself to others. It's just totally ineffective. We need to put our blinders on, and we need to look inside for our own strengths. So we spoke about our looking at our kids' strengths, but we also need to look within ourselves. Like, what is it that we're good at? What are our talents? And then we need to bring that to our parenting. Like, let's say you love to read. So bring your love of reading to your kids. You love to do art. Bring your love of art. Like, connect with your kids in that way. Use your strengths to connect with your kids. Now, they might not be interested, but some parents are very creative in finding ways to connect with their kids using their strengths, okay? If you're athletic, make sure to, play with your kids outside. And if you're a funny kind of person, then really use humor with your kids. Like, really focus on your strengths, not on what everybody else is doing. Okay, so I think that is so important. Okay, so just to conclude, I want to say that it's really important. I want to go back to one of the points that we were talking about, that really children are a gift from God. And I think we could tell this to our kids. So I'll say to my kids, I am so happy that Hashem gave you to me. I'm so happy that God gave you to me. He could have picked anybody. He could have picked anyone. All the other adults in the world, all the other parents in the world could have gotten you, but I got you. Okay, and so a few years ago, my friend, unfortunately, her father passed away, and he lives in South America, and she just got there like 2 days before he passed away. And she told me that, you know, he was able to tell her, you know, I love you so much, and I'm so happy that God gave you to me. Right? So I thought that was so amazing. And she was like crying, and you know, she was so happy that she got those last moments with her father. And so I told my kids that. I'm like, isn't that amazing that her father said that he's so happy that God gave her to him? And my son was like, Mommy, you say that to us all the time. I'm like, really? Like, I had forgotten that I do. I tell my kids this all the time. And I think it's important to bring God into the equation, into your parenting, letting that really helps kids. If they have a loving relationship with you, with their parent, then they'll more likely have a loving relationship with God. And I think that's very important. Okay, so I hope you have a wonderful Shavuot, actually a Lag BaOmer, whatever, the rest of Sfira. And I'm going to hand you over now to Deborah at chalacrums.com, and I'm going to watch it also and hope to find out some new recipes for cheesecake. Okay, thank you so much.